What's up everybody, and thank you for joining me for another video. My name is Whack4863, but you can call me Whack. Today I'm going to go over 10 changes, 10 big changes that are coming with update 2.1. Now these are not in any specific order, they're not rankings of these changes, they're just 10 changes that are coming with 2.1. And the first change that I'm going to cover today is the change to the survival attribute. Now the new survival level 20 perk is Waste Not. This reduces the amount of water used from water skins, effectively doubling the lifespan of a water skin. The other change to this attribute is to perk level 3, and that is where they've placed Hard Worker. This is where you are going to be more efficient at harvesting resources and gather those resources twice as fast. The Efficient Butchery perk has been removed from the game entirely. The second big change that's come to Conan Exiles with 2.1 is the addition of 30 dyes. That's right, I said 30 additional dyes. And a lot of these dyes are very bright and very vibrant, which is a stark contrast from the original dyes, which were very dull or muted colors. These are very, very bright colors, and I've already picked out my favorite. It happens to be the full green dye. In addition to the 30 dyes, we have a new placeable workbench, which is the Dying Vat Station. Now this is part of the changes that Funcom is making in order to reduce the number of recipes that are on one station. I actually really like how they're doing this and how they're going about this. Especially as a console player, once this patch actually hits consoles, it's going to be a lot easier to navigate a lot of these menus. The third change that I want to go over is the addition of the vanity table. Now this allows you to re-customize, recreate almost everything about your character. You cannot change your gender, and they stated in the live stream that that was because of how the server and how the database actually saves your character. However, you can go in and change everything from race to hair color to height and other body features. In addition to that, if you own the Isle of Sipta DLC, they've added 9 new faces, 7 new hairstyles, and 7 new facial options. And this is just my personal opinion, but I think we'll see more faces, more hairstyles, more customization options coming out alongside future DLCs. Fish traps have gotten a complete rebalance. They no longer generate fish passively. You have to go out and bait your fish traps in order to catch any fish. There are a few different types of baits that you could put in there. You could put the handful of bugs, you could put the grubs, or you could put either the regular bee or the queen bee in the fish trap. Now they do say that the better the bait, the more chances of catching exotic or rare fish. There's also been some balance when it comes to the economy of fish. So first of all, the only fish that provides you with any ichor is going to be the exotic fish. If you put the fish in the fluid press, it now costs 10 unappetizing fish to produce 1 oil, 5 savory fish to produce 1 oil, and 1 exotic fish will produce 1 oil. And this is a pretty big change. It's actually exactly opposite of how things have been in the past. So it was very easy to get lots of oil using the unappetizing fish. Now you need the exotic fish to produce that oil instead. And the exotic fish do not show up in the traps as much as the unappetizing fish. So it's definitely going to change the economy for some of these resources. Which leads me into another big change. Ichor is no longer part of the stone consolidant recipe. Now, in place of ichor, you need resin. So it's probably a good thing with the change to the fish that we no longer need the ichor to make stone consolidant. Because could you imagine trying to get enough ichor from cooking the exotic fish? Additionally, with this change to the recipe for stone consolidant, resin has been added across the map. Everywhere, every tree that you find on the exiled lands will now produce resin, as long as you're using a pick or a pickaxe of iron tier or above. Obviously, the higher tier pick or pickaxe, the more quality drops you'll get when it comes to resin and bark. And they've actually increased the amount of drops of bark coming from a pick or a pickaxe on trees across the exiled lands. Thrall specializations has come to the exiled lands. Now, tier 4 Thrall specializations come on certain types of tier 4 thralls. So there are blacksmith specializations, carpenter specialization, taskmaster specializations, priest specializations, and armorer specialization. I'm going to focus on armorers as an example of these specializations for this video. There are 3 different specializations that armorers can have. There is a shield right specialization, which is going to be armor focused armorer. There is a scout right, which is going to be a weight focused armorer, and there is a temper right, which is going to be a durability focused armorer. Now these specializations change the stats for your armor. So if you're using a shield right armorer, that armorer is going to produce the armor with a higher armor value than you would get if you built it without an armorer on the bench, or even with a tier 3 armorer or a different specialization armorer on the bench. So it really opens up the world for customization as far as getting different stats on your armor. So if you want something with a higher armor value, you use the shield right. If you want something with less weight, you use the scout right. And if you want something with a really high durability, you're going to go for the temper right. Now, I think it's important to note that all tier 4 armors are going to inject the same attribute bonuses into your armor. There is not one that does any more attribute bonus than the other, so any tier 4 armor of any of those specializations will put the same number of attribute bonuses into your armor. In addition to this change, they have removed the recipes for exceptional and flawless, both in the armor and in the weapons category. So you will not find exceptional or flawless recipes, which is really good for the menu because it actually reduces 6 recipes down to 2. So I'm really excited about this change. In addition to that, as I've been testing the armors and the weapons, you'll find that once you get an armorer on there, or once you get a blacksmith on there, tier 4, you're going to find that these weapons and armor craft at the flawless level or better. Coming with this patch, there are a bunch of new crafting stations, and they all have different variations for improvement as you progress through your gameplay. There's a new alchemy bench, there's a new dyeing vat, new tanner's table, the tinkerer's table, and the new casting bench. In addition to that, there's also 2 new blacksmith benches, 2 new carpenter tables, 2 new armorer's benches, and 2 new furnaces. And all these benches have their own specialization. Again, they've moved the bonuses away from the thrall and given them to the benches. So you're going to have to choose between speed or resource cost. Now, with the addition of a lot of these new benches, there are also changes to recipes. For example, one of the recipes that has been a big change is the padding for your armor. Instead of having to craft helmet padding and arm padding and leg padding, you now have one single item to craft for all those different pieces of armor. This is a really nice change because it takes a lot of the fluff out of the crafting system and out of the menus. Additionally, with the removal of, say, things that are flawless or exceptional, it removes a ton of different recipes out of that crafting area. But you're going to find things moved around. So say you used to go to your fireball cauldron to make war paint. Well, now the war paint is on the dyeing vat. And some of the recipes that used to be on the armorer's station have been moved over to the tannery table, the brand new tannery table. So if you want to stretch hide or make silk or different things like that, you're actually going to do that on the tannery table. And that leads me into recipe changes. Now, we've already seen some recipe changes come through with update 2.1. The change to stone consolidant going from ichor to needing resin. We've also seen the addition of some very cool things with the carpenter's table, where you can actually change branches into wood. You can get the bark, if you want, from wood, and you can actually make branches from wood as well. So we've completed that loop. And I fully expect that we're going to see more changes come after 2.1, or even maybe before 2.1 hits live, where we see other recipe changes. Because right now, if you're looking at anything on the artisan table, it actually costs you the full price, because none of the thralls have any bonus to recipe. And the artisan table is one of those things that seems to have been looked over and hasn't had an addition of a table to reduce those resource costs. Now, some of the changes to the recipes may be intended as part of the economy update. For example, the buff war paints on the dyeing vat all require 2 dragon powder. And this may simply be the way it is going forward, is that we have higher costs for some of these recipes. Another change, and the last one that I'm going to cover today, is the fact that we can actually make legendary armor patch kits. Now, we've been able to make legendary weapon repair kits with the right thrall for quite some time. However, we are now able to make the legendary armor patch kit. You're going to do that on the tinker table, and you're going to do that with a named armorer thrall with the right specialization. And it does not have to be a purge thrall anymore. And that's all I have for this video, but the fun doesn't have to stop here. You can click one of the other videos coming up on the screen to watch next. I hope you've enjoyed this video as much as I've enjoyed making it. I'll catch you next time. Peace. I'd like to give a big shout out to all my YouTube members. Y'all are absolute legends. If you'd like to become a legend, there's a button below that says join. That'll give you all the details. I'd like to thank all my subscribers for their continued support, likes, comments, and general awesomeness. If you're not subscribed, you can start your free trial today and cancel at any time. Clicking the bell is highly recommended so you get notified when I upload another video.